Boots turn toward her, the sound growing louder, her breath thinning until it barely feels like air. She has one choice left: to stand and risk it, or stay where she is and take whatever comes. Fear weakens the decision before it breaks it. She decides to stay. It isn't surrender, it's calculation. She keeps her eyes down the way she's learned to: slow, deliberate, practiced. Looking up has never improved an outcome. The ground beneath her knees is hard and unforgiving, the cold pressing through her coat as if it's checking whether she still belongs here. She focuses on that sensation because it's simple, and simple things are easier to manage than thoughts. A moment ago, she was still walking, still telling herself she could hold it together if she just measured her steps and ignored the pain. Now the road stretches out in front of her like something already decided. Her fingers press into the dirt, searching for balance, for proof that she hasn't completely come apart. This is the part she understands. She's been preparing for it without knowing. Every time she learned to stay quiet when speaking felt risky. Every time she noticed how quickly attention could turn sharp. None of it was taught outright. It was absorbed, picked up by watching who was corrected, who disappeared, who never quite came back the same. People like her don't get explanations. They get outcomes. Her palms begin to shake, not from pain, but from restraint. She tightens her fingers, annoyed at herself for letting it show. Even now, she wants to look composed. Even now, she wants to appear manageable, as if that might matter. The air smells faintly of metal and damp earth. Somewhere nearby, a radio crackles and then cuts out, the sound sudden enough to pull her shoulders tighter. She waits for voices to follow it. Orders usually do. They don't. The silence feels deliberate, held in place like a breath someone refuses to release. She can sense them behind her, not close enough to touch, not far enough to forget. Presence without contact, pressure without clarity. Her throat tightens. She swallows once, then again. It doesn't help. Back home, silence meant something else. It meant evenings softened by routine, the hum of a radio, the scrape of a chair, someone moving through the next room. Here, silence feels watchful. Here, it weighs. A memory surfaces without warning. Her mother breaking bread carefully, dividing it so no one felt shorted. The sound of crust cracking. The quiet relief of knowing there was enough, at least for now. She pushes the thought away. Wanting that kind of certainty feels dangerous. She shifts slightly to ease the ache in her knees and freezes again, convinced the movement was too much. Her breathing slows, controlled the way she's learned to control everything else. Drawing attention feels like a mistake she can't afford. Fear doesn't rush her, it settles in. She doesn't cry, she doesn't plead, she waits. Waiting feels like the last thing she still controls. Her heart beats hard against her ribs, steady and stubborn. Each pulse reminds her she's still here, still breathing. That awareness feels fragile, like something that could be taken back without warning. She considers standing. The thought flickers and fades. Standing would mean being fully seen. Right now, folded close to the ground, she feels smaller, less defined, easier to overlook, maybe even easier to spare. The idea lingers longer than it should. Her shoulders sag as exhaustion finally claims its share. Holding herself together takes energy she no longer has. If this is the end of the road, at least it doesn't require her to keep walking. A subtle sound shifts behind her, fabric moving, weight adjusting. Her body tenses on instinct, bracing for impact that doesn't arrive. The moment stretches, thin and unresolved, until a quiet realization settles in. Whatever she's expecting hasn't happened yet. And as she stays there, caught between everything she's been taught to fear and a silence that refuses to confirm it, she has no way of knowing that this pause, this single, fragile hesitation, is already beginning to loosen something she once believed was unbreakable. A few moments ago, she was still waiting for something clear to happen, something that would confirm what she already believed. The silence hasn't protected her, it's given her mind room to work against her. Fear doesn't arrive as panic, it arrives as memory. Her thoughts drift backward without permission, pulling up fragments she never meant to keep. Stories told in low voices. faces that changed after capture. People who thought they understood the rules, only to learn too late that the rules were flexible and never in their favor. This is how it begins, she tells herself, with waiting. Silence, in her experience, has never been neutral. Silence means someone is deciding how much you're worth. She assumes that decision is already leaning against her. It usually does. Her jaw tightens as she presses her tongue to the roof of her mouth, grounding herself in the small discomfort. Pain she can manage. Pain follows patterns. What she can't manage is not knowing. A sharp thought cuts through her chest. You should have kept going if she hadn't slowed, if she hadn't let her body fail her, if she'd ignored the ache just a little longer. Self-blame settles in easily, familiar as an old coat. It gives her something to hold responsible herself. Weakness, she's learned, invites consequences. She keeps her head low, eyes fixed on a crack in the road near her knee. She studies it like it matters, like it might offer instructions. Stay still, stay small, don't give anyone a reason. These rules have kept her safe before, or at least less visible. Another sound reaches her, someone clearing their throat behind her. It lands heavier than a shout, her shoulders stiffen. She braces for words that don't come. Orders would be easier. Orders would tell her how to behave. Silence forces her to guess, and guessing has never worked out well. She doesn't look back. Back home, silence meant rest. It meant late afternoons when time slowed down, radios murmuring in the background, familiar footsteps crossing wooden floors. Here, silence feels intentional, like it's being used. Her fingers curl slightly into the dirt. She loosens them, tightens them again. She's trying to keep control over something, anything. Even her breathing becomes a quiet negotiation. Too fast feels dangerous. Too slow feels noticeable. If I do this right, she thinks, maybe it won't get worse. It isn't hope. It's damage control. She believes behavior matters, that there's a correct way to endure this. Stand or don't stand, speak or don't speak. Each option carries weight, and she's trying to calculate it with a mind dulled by exhaustion and fear. Boots shift nearby. Her stomach drops. This is it, she thinks. The moment everything tilts. She folds inward just a little more, making herself compact, unthreatening. She imagines how she must look from above, small, contained, already defeated. Maybe that will help. Maybe that will shorten whatever comes next. Her heart keeps a steady, stubborn rhythm. Each beat feels loud, as if it might give her away. She wonders briefly if they can hear it. The thought makes her press her lips together harder, still no voice. No shove, no command. The waiting stretches thin, tight enough to snap, and something unsettling begins to surface beneath the fear. Confusion. She's prepared for cruelty. She's rehearsed it. But this careful delay, doesn't match any story she knows how to survive. Her certainty wavers just slightly, and that frightens her more than anything else so far. Because if this isn't what she expected, then she has no idea what comes next. And she remains there, caught between what experience has taught her and a reality that refuses to follow the script, unaware that this quiet mismatch is already opening the door to something she never thought she'd have to consider. A moment ago, she still believed silence was only a delay, a different shape of the same ending. Now the stillness shifts, and the change unsettles her more than noise ever could. She senses it before she understands it. A movement that doesn't rush. Boots adjusting position instead of closing distance. The sound is small, controlled, and wrong in a way she can't immediately name. If this were anger, it would be louder. If this were force, it would already be happening. Her body tightens anyway. She braces for hands that don't come, for a grip that never closes. The absence of contact stretches her nerves thin. Waiting without instruction feels dangerous, like standing on a surface that should collapse but has yet. She risks a glance, quick, sideways, the way you look at something you don't trust. One of them has stopped. Not hovering, not looming. Just standing there, a few steps away, as if distance itself has been measured and chosen. His posture isn't aggressive. His hands aren't raised or clenched. They're simply there, visible, empty. The detail rattles her. This isn't relief. Relief would feel lighter. This feels unstable. She looks down again, heart thudding, annoyed at herself for even checking. Reading situations like this is risky. Misreading them is worse. She reminds herself that pauses can lie. Hesitation can be strategy. Silence can still end badly. Her mind begins scanning, pulling the moment apart piece by piece. Distance. Too far to strike without warning. Hands, not reaching, not signaling either. Stance, balanced, not rushed. She hates herself for noticing these things. Awareness feels like hope's cousin, and hope has never been kind to her. Something metallic shifts softly nearby. The sound is faint, familiar enough to register before she can stop herself. Her mouth reacts on instinct, saliva gathering painfully. The thought of water hits her hard and fast, sharp enough to make her dizzy. She swallows and forces it down. Wanting things right now feels reckless. She tells herself it's nothing, equipment, movement, anything but what it sounds like. Assigning meaning is how you get hurt. She's learned that the hard way. Still, her breathing changes, slows, then tightens again when she notices it doing so. She resents her body for responding without permission. Control matters. Control is safety. The soldier shifts his weight slightly, not closer, not farther. Just enough to remind her he hasn't forgotten she's there. That more than anything keeps her frozen. She waits for a voice, any voice. Even anger would anchor her. Anger follows rule. This careful quiet does not. It leaves too much room for interpretation, and interpretation has never worked in her favor. Instead, there's a softer sound, fabric moving, a breath drawn and released. It's close enough that she can hear it clearly. The realization lands strangely. The sound isn't sharp or impatient. It's ordinary, human, the kind of breath people take when they're thinking, not deciding. The thought unsettles her deeply. She presses her lips together, trying to steady herself. Thinking like this feels dangerous. Assigning humanity where she expects none feels like stepping onto ice you know might not hold. She pulls herself back, reminding herself of what she knows, of what experience has taught her. Cruelty makes sense. Indifference makes sense. This does not. Her heart keeps its slow, stubborn rhythm. The road stays cold beneath her knees. Time moves forward even if nothing else seems to. And in that stretched space, between expectation and observation, something inside her begins to slip. The script she's been following no longer fits the moment. The rules she's memorized don't explain what she's seeing. She doesn't know how to behave without them, and that uncertainty leaves her exposed in a way fear never did. She stays still, not because she knows it's right, but because she has no replacement plan. The pause deepens. She has no idea yet that this hesitation, this quiet refusal of the expected, is the edge of a turning point. She only knows that whatever is happening now doesn't belong to the world she prepared for. And that realization, more than anything, makes her afraid of what comes next. A moment ago, she was still bracing for impact, every nerve held tight against what she believed was inevitable. Then the moment breaks, and it breaks the wrong way. Something moves beside her, slow enough that she notices the care in it. Not a grab, not a shove. An object touches the ground near her hand with a soft, hollow sound, metal against dirt. She flinches anyway, shoulders jerking before she can stop them. She doesn't look. Her mind rejects the shape before it names it. Whatever it is, it doesn't belong in the story she's been preparing for. Her throat tightens as recognition creeps in, unwanted and dangerous. Water. The thought alone makes her dizzy. Her mouth reacts before permission is given, saliva gathering painfully. She swallows hard and keeps her eyes fixed on the ground. Wanting something right now feels like stepping out of cover. Wanting makes you visible. She tells herself it's a trick. It has to be. Tests don't announce themselves. They appear like opportunities. A voice comes then, quiet, low, careful, not sharp, not commanding. She doesn't understand the words at first, but she understands the tone. It doesn't rush her, it doesn't corner her, it leaves space. That unsettles her more than shouting ever could. Her heart stumbles. She risks a glance, quick and incomplete. The soldier has stepped back, not far, just enough. His hands are open, visible, empty. He isn't watching her the way people watch when they're waiting to assert control. He looks tired. focused, almost uncertain, as if he's aware this moment could go wrong if handled poorly. This isn't what kindness looks like in stories. This is ordinary. That realization hits her harder than any threat. Her fingers twitch toward the canteen and stop. Trust doesn't arrive all at once. Her body doesn't believe what her eyes are reporting. Her hands still shake. Her breathing stays shallow, guarded, like she's preparing to be corrected. She hesitates, painfully aware of the risk in every movement. Reaching means exposure. It means choosing to accept something she doesn't understand yet. Slowly, so slowly it feels like time is stretching, she closes her fingers around the metal. Nothing happens. No reprimand, no sudden movement. The world doesn't snap back into place. She brings the canteen closer, hands clumsy, and takes a small, careful sip. The water spills at first, cold against her chin, soaking into the dirt. She doesn't care. The second sip lands properly, shocking and real as it spreads through her chest. Her knees weaken, not with fear this time, but with relief she isn't ready for. Kindness does that. It unravels you where fear only hardens. She lowers the canteen, breath hitching, a quiet sound escaping her before she can stop it. Not a sob, not a laugh. Something in between, raw and unfinished. No one rushes her. The soldier remains where he is, giving space like it matters. A hand hovers near her elbow, not gripping, not pulling. Waiting, asking without words. She nods once barely. The support comes carefully, steady and restrained. When she rises, the world tilts, then settles. She's upright again, still breathing, still here. The realization settles slowly. This wasn't mercy meant to impress. It wasn't performance or pity. It was a choice. And as she steadies herself, heart pounding with a feeling she doesn't yet have a name for, she understands something quietly and completely unsettling. This moment hasn't ended the danger. It's opened a question she never thought she'd be allowed to ask. A little while ago, she was still trying to understand what had just happened, afraid that if she examined it too closely, it might disappear. Now the road moves again, and she moves with it, carrying something she doesn't yet have language for. Nothing feels resolved. The uniforms are still there. The future is still uncertain. Her body remains tired, her steps uneven. Whatever danger existed before hasn't magically vanished. She knows that much. She's learned not to mistake small mercies for permanent safety. And yet, the pause stays with her. Not the fear, not the collapse, the hesitation. She keeps replaying it, not because she wants to, but because her mind hasn't figured out where to put it. Moments like that don't come with instructions. They don't announce themselves as important. They slip in quietly and wait for meaning to catch up. She thinks about how easily it could have gone another way, how little effort cruelty would have required, how ordinary it would have been. That realization settles heavily. Kindness didn't arrive because it was expected. It arrived because someone chose it. That difference matters more than she's ready to admit. She doesn't know the soldier's name. She never will. And over time, the details will blur. The road, the cold, even the sound of boots. But that choice will remain. Not as a story she tells, but as a reference point she carries. Back when she believed the world worked in clean divisions, she thought enemies were defined by uniforms and sides. Now she understands something more complicated. People are defined by moments, by what they decide when no one is watching closely, when there's no reward for restraint. This realization doesn't make her hopeful. It makes her careful in a different way. Mercy, she's learned, doesn't erase the past. It doesn't promise the future. But it does something quieter and more dangerous. It cracks certainty. It forces you to reconsider what you thought was fixed. She walks on, step by measured step, knowing the road ahead will still ask things of her. Knowing fear will return. Knowing she may never feel fully safe again. But now there is one thing she can't unlearn. Cruelty isn't inevitable, even here, even now. And that truth, fragile as it is, stays with her longer than the fear ever did. If this story made you pause, if it reminded you that history isn't only shaped by battles, but by the small, human choices made inside them, Share it with someone who still believes the past is simple. This is history captured, where the moments history almost missed are finally seen.